Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to PJ's On Airline for another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. Get every day started with them. We're coming to you from the mobile Oshner Health Podcast Studio. And if you're in the market for a new car, my guy Matt Bowers has a state-of-the-art dealership up there on Vets, the Ford dealership. Make sure you go up there, buy yourself a Bronco or something. Christmas is coming up. No one's going to love you more than you, except for maybe Matt's customer service team that's going to get you the best customer care and prices that you can get. So make sure you go and check them out for your new and pre-owned car needs. We've got a great show for you guys today. We're going to talk about, should the Saints tank? Should they get close to tanking? What should their approach be to get better? We're going to talk about this Falcons game a little bit and what the Saints need to do to win on day one at Rizzi Ball and much, much more. So stick around right after this. Oshner Health is proud to team up with the NFL and the New Orleans Saints' Crucial Catch mission to fight cancer and save lives. Crucial Catch helps more people access the tools they need to catch cancer early and promotes prevention and early detection of cancer.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room, because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com. All right, let's get into the show. Welcome back to the mobile Oshner Health Podcast Studio for another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. I'm Nick Underhill. That's Mike Triplett. That's Brandon Thomas.
Did you come up with the nobody's going to love you more than you except for Matt's customer service team on the spot?
Right on the spot. Right
on the
Yeah,
spot?
It was tough.
That's what I do. I'm a bar guy.
I can attest. This week he has been.
It was good. It was good. It was really good.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I don't know when the album's gonna come out.
I like to try to play some stuff humble, but I mean, I was spitting there. Like, there's no doubt about it. Yeah. No, I killed that.
Yeah. Excellent work.
Be what we got.
Clip that one from Matt.
Let's get into our first segment presented by Aaron Rose. Mike, earlier this week, had an exclusive article with Mickey Loomis, Saints GM. And, Mickey Loomis basically said that, he doesn't believe in tanking or the process that they've popularized in Philadelphia and that they'll never go, all the way down that road. But do you think the Saints should start considering tanking and something along those lines?
They won't. I mean, should they? Yeah, I mean, like, you kind of should. I mean, there's things you could do to lean into the badness of it. Like,
trading Marshawn Lattimore alone
Yeah.
is as close as they've done to that concept since, Jimmy
but
Graham and a
it's
few
not
others in
enough.
2015.
It's
not
enough.
tanking.
It's
though.
not enough. Like, you go out, okay, so they trade Marshawn, and then
Yeah.
you go out, and Will Harris is practicing again, and he's going to play, and Eric McCoy's practicing again, and he's going to play.
That's not
like
tanking.
you could make those last a little bit longer. If you wanted to. Obviously, the players want to get on the field, so that's kind of fantasy land to say, well, like, just keep Eric McCoy on IR. If he wants to play, he wants to play. He's trying to get out there. You can't tell him he can't play. But I mean, they aren't leaning into this. Like, leaning into it would be like, well, hey, we're going to move on from Derek Carr, so Derek, we're going to just shut it down for the season, and we're gonna get rid of you in the offseason. Like, that would be a move you could do to kind of lean into it and kind of embrace it and say, we accidentally lost this many games, but now we're going to try to lose. But again, that's tough to do. It's easy to say, it's tough to do, because what are you saying to your team? You destroy your culture, all that erodes.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't be mad at, some guys getting shut down, Derek getting it can kill your culture, and it might be hard to come back from it in some respects, but also, like, you kind of have a golden opportunity right now that you kind of accidentally got to, and you could end up with a top 1, 2, 3 pick this year, and then next year you're kind of playing with either Hainer or Rattler, and you're probably in the top 5 again. I mean, that's a really quick way to kind of supercharge your rebuild and take advantage of the situation you're in now without squandering maybe some of the value of it that you've had to suffer for inadvertently. Yeah. So, I mean, it's easy to sit here and say it's kind of, I was told by somebody recently that, quote, it's a bullshit concept. And, I mean.
What is?
Like, the whole idea of just
tanking?
Of tanking on purpose. Like, it's not something that is realistic to do in this type of situation.
Correct.
And doing it on the fly. Like, if you get rid of Derek in the offseason, I think that's received completely differently than just we're shutting him down in November to lose on purpose. Like, you could, okay, well, I guess they're moving on from him. I mean, but if you do it right now, like, I think it just hits different. So it is probably a little bit of a BS concept to talk about it in the moment, but, boy, like, you'd like to be able to find a way to take advantage of what you accidentally stumbled into.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. But, I mean, it's a little bit of a moot point because we're never going to see it happen. I don't think we'd ever see it happen this early in the season with almost any team. Now, trading away all your parts, we've seen Carolina do that a couple times now. That's one thing. If somebody wanted Derek Carr in a trade or DeMario Davis and Cam Jordan in a trade, getting back any more than like a 7th-round pick or whatever, great, win-win, and then you're tanking, but you're building for the future at the same time. I think it is something that could come into play with 2-3 weeks left in a season, not with 8-9 weeks left in a season. But yeah, Derek Carr is the big question mark to me. Derek Carr is the complete, like, off-season question mark to me. Like, we can talk about all the other little pieces. Are you keeping DeMario? Is Cam retiring? A few veterans here, a few veterans there. But I did a big salary cap breakdown this week, too. And if you make the Derek Carr move, it's almost the only move you can afford to make because of the dead money response. So I'm fascinated. We're going to talk about that endlessly. But I don't think they're going to shut him down in season. I get the concept of.
Let's redefine the combo.
Yeah.
So if they lose the next 3, do you tank December?
Yeah, I think there could come a point. I think I might give Rattler 4 games. I want to, he could use it if he in any way, shape, or form is in the conversation of the possibility of starting next season. I think it's really interesting because I don't actually know what would attract most head coaches. I think some coaches might want a Derek Carr. So they're like, good. I think I'm good. I think I could go win 9 games with this team and probably win Coach of the Year because they're going to go from 4 wins to 9 wins. I think another one might be like, I'd like that $40 million in cap space to spend somewhere else. So
Yeah.
I'm very curious which one of those two is even considered the more attractive setup for the next coach that's going to come in here. But there's an obvious, any game Rattler gets to play this year or Haener gets to play next year is experience that would help them going into the future. So, yeah, there's a point. It wouldn't come till after the bye week, but December more than November, I think it becomes a real possibility.
Look, in respect to like the actuality of what we're talking about too, like there's a lot of people that are fighting for their livelihood right now too, and you know the whole idea of like shutting it down. That's there's coaching assistants here that
we have the quote on the screen, that backs that up, for sure.
Well, what did he say? Plus, you don't want. Mickey Loomis had the quote. Plus, you don't want to get in the habit of losing. Every player wants to win, so they want to believe they're doing everything they can to win. That's what we ask of them. So how can we ask them to do everything they can to win, and then we're not? I mean, I'm not even just talking about the players though. Like there's like young coaching assistants and stuff that are like fighting for their NFL life. So there's just considerations here of shutting it down that are tough. I mean, it's a tough situation to be in, especially when you got that interim label on there. Rizzi isn't going to want to shut it down. You know, Joe Woods isn't going to want to shut it down. Clint Kubiak definitely isn't going to want to shut it down. He's trying to prove that he can be a coordinator, and if this doesn't go right, this could be his last chance to do that. I mean, he's already gotten like 2 of them on purpose, a half of one, you know, in Denver. But like I don't like he needs to show it, like to keep it going. And there's a lot of people tied to him. So it's tough to say just shut it down. But I don't know. You lose enough games, and at some point you got to put the future of the organization on the scale and kind of see where everything balances out. I agree it's way too early for it. But if you lose these next 3, it would be
there comes a time.
It would be a shame to kind of like really blow the opportunity. And you know, I say that knowing the weight of what that means.
Yeah. You know, I misled you by making you read that Mickey Loomis quote because I was thinking of another quote that was in that story where he said exactly what you said. He said, this is an audition for everybody. He said, it's an audition for Rizzi, and Rizzi has made it very clear he has head coaching aspirations, so he wants to kill it. And Joe Woods is going to call a defense. He said him. He also threw in older players that want to prove they still have something left in the tank. And that's what made me think of this quote. Like when he says this, I'm picturing DeMario Davis and Alvin Kamara. And guys, Alvin Kamara just touched the ball 36 times in a loss to Carolina in a 7th straight loss. Like the pride is oozing out of players like that. And he said young players, you know, Alontae Taylor wants to prove that he should get paid like an outside corner in his next contract. Kool-Aid McKinstry wants to prove that he's a starter and they don't need to sign another. Like the team is loaded with players who want to win and want to be given the opportunity to win. So there are a number of reasons why. It's obvious you should tank if you were removing every other factor out of there and just, I want a higher pick and I want Spencer Rattler to get to start 6 games this year. The other considerations, and I do think there is an element to positivity carrying over too. I think if this team like won 5 of the last 6 games and felt good about like what they showed, I think that can carry over into an offseason. I think that carried over into last offseason. I think it made for a good training camp. I thought it made for a good week 1 and week 2. Some things they just weren't good enough to overcome. But I don't think you can just scoff at the idea of positivity and hey, when we got the new coach and the new energy in the locker room, we went on a run. Like I think that could help a lot. It could help a Trevor Penning. It could help a Tali Fuaga. I really think it could.
You know what else brings energy though? Shedeur Sanders. You know, like
and
Will Campbell. Like that brings energy too.
Sure.
So, I mean, I don't disagree though. I don't discount anything you're saying, but boy, like I think the players.
Your way is what I would do with my fantasy team. You know,
I think players would be excited though. Like if they. Chris Olave's brother was tweeting about Shedeur this morning. I think people would be excited about that kind of stuff.
I'm going to get back into what you just finished off with, but going back to what you said about if they just lose the last 3 games and then you go into December, that's losing against Atlanta, Cleveland, and the Rams. 2 of those are NFC teams.
They're going to lose to the Rams. Well, I mean, can we put the graphic on the screen and just already say it's a loss to the Rams?
But going into that, we kind of alluded to the last game, and you threw out some names just now. Who would you want to see kind of come in? It's a little too early, but, who would you want to see come in?
I don't know about any of the quarterbacks yet. I mean, I think we're probably talking about them. If they were in last year's class, I think all of them are behind Caleb, JD, and I think even Drake May. I think then is Shedeur better than Penix? Is he better than JJ? Is he better than Bonnet? Like, I think that's where those conversations start. Cam Ward, I will put in there too.
Yeah.
I think Cam's probably more physically gifted than some of them, but I think just some of the processing in that isn't as refined as what JD was last year or Drake May, and then obviously Caleb. So I think that's where you start to look at it. Honestly, like Shedeur, you have to figure out, it's a real conversation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise that goes with that situation. Are you equipped to handle it? And if so, cool. I mean, and it sucks that that's kind of part of the but that is going to be part of the conversation that people are having, whether it's fair or it's not. Like, that's just a reality of it. That's how football people think. They hate noise, and they hate more than noise. They hate outside noise, and that's something that you would have to consider. So that would have to be part of the thought process. Yeah, I mean, I would, and they're gonna hate me for this. Like, I would probably, if I'm picking high enough and I have the opportunity to build out my O-line and just have my O-line be Will Campbell, Eric McCoy, Fuaga, and I'm building around that, and that is set for the next. I mean, McCoy's probably got a good 8 years left. Like, I don't know, you're set for the next decade on the offensive line. That would be something that I would really look at. And you build that line, and then you come back, and you kind of, okay, set up now. Let's go get the quarterback.
Yeah.
But that's probably how I would probably want to approach it. Is you fill that out, and like, you have a franchise line. Like, a lot of stuff can. You're kind of set up to be in a situation where people can succeed then.
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned the Detroit Lions, I think, a number of times, but I mean, I think drafting Penei Sewell 1 year with the 4th pick and Aiden Hutchinson 1 year with the 2nd pick can set your team up for success too. Like, off left tackle, defensive end, and I think the hit rate is really high in the top 10 on those positions too. It's a crapshoot at quarterback all over the draft, but no, look, if you can get a Drake May, you get a Drake May. If you can get a Jaden Daniels, you get a Jaden Daniels. I don't know that exists in this class. We don't know where the Saints are picking yet. If they're picking one, it might have to be the quarterback. I don't know. But
I haven't
there's
looked at
no
any of them
shame.
hard enough to feel conviction on any of them. But I mean, man, Pat, like, as long as you're taking, if you're in the top 5, even if you're number 1, as long as you're taking somebody at one of the 4 premium positions, I mean,
I don't feel the same way as wide receiver as those positions.
No, I go quarterback, offensive tackle, defensive veteran, cornerback.
Corner, 4th.
Yeah, corner. Those are the 4 premium positions to me. I don't think they need to go cornerback, but if there's a Stingley or whatever, like, if you love somebody, go
Speaking
ahead.
of Colorado.
Yeah.
Trav.
And he's gonna be a corner in the NFL. I keep asking people in the league. Everybody says corner, and maybe he gives you 5 to 10 plays at receiver a game, but he's a cornerback. He's too small. He's too small to be to draft him high as a wide receiver. He just is. Like, he looks
talented.
He looks like he's 100. He looks like he's like 165 pounds. That plays at cornerback. It doesn't at wide receiver necessarily. If you're drafting someone that high, you want him to be Jamar, and he's not. You want him to be Justin Jefferson. I just don't think he has the frame to be that. And you just look at a picture at him, and he looks small. Like, he's probably a great wide receiver too, but he's going to go in the league and be an awesome cornerback. I use him there, and I use him up as a change up on offense here and there.
Lockdown. Like I said, we were going to go back to Mike's ending comments. His comments were about the energy.
About my fantasy football team? I have Jamar Chase in one league, and Burrow in another.
You living good.
I just I had to move on. And one, I let Olave go in a league today. And got to pick up.
Need IR spots in that league. Well, we'll see if he's on IR.
Well, there's IR spot. I
just
don't expect him to play again.
Yeah. But like I was saying, going back to your ending comments about the earlier topic, talking about the energy surrounding the team right now, that'll take us into our next segment presented by Shawbear Insurance, the Earhart Agency. What changes have stood out with Darren Rizzi's first week as the head coach?
I mean, energy is a word we're hearing in every capacity. Energy in the locker room, that started Monday. Derek Carr, who's obviously close to Dennis Allen, was talking about how important it was to shake this team out of Groundhog Day. Alvin Kamara obviously has been a spokesman for having his finger on the pulse of the locker room. Has talked about how big it's been. We see it. I mean, there's a tempo, there's an energy. I mean, a lot of that stuff is cosmetic, and you can dismiss it. And if they lose by 14 points to Atlanta, it doesn't matter that the offense and the defense switch sides and that they moved to different places in the locker room. But it all falls into the same bucket, which is they're trying. They recognize that change was necessary, and they're trying to change it. And there's strategy behind a lot of them. A lot of the coaching staff moves. A lot of my favorite one was one Darren Rizzi talked about today, as he said, with all the pre-snap penalties and the substitution penalties they've been having, he said a lot of times you just practice plays, but you don't simulate game situations. He said every play they've practiced this week, they've substituted in between plays and practiced substituting and tried to make it feel game-like. I mean, there's thought behind all this stuff. Completely new stretching and activation period that Rizzi was really excited about, that he's always had in his mind that he would use if he got to be a head coach. Perfect for a team that has had injury problems, so maybe that'll work. Although Jamal Williams also got hurt this week, as he said, re-aggravating something. So none of this stuff is guaranteed to work. But if ever a team needed to shake the snow globe up, this was it, and it's been well received, to use a term we've heard a lot this week.
Yeah, no, you said it right there. I mean, the thing that I liked the most was just the idea of practicing with a little bit more, intensity and pace.
Yeah.
I think those are two things that are probably needed. It's kind of like just insane for someone to sit up there and say, hey, like, we're going to go through practice with a game like pace and intensity on the substitutions and all that, because we've been messing it up. And it's like, what's been going on? Like, what have you guys been doing? Like, what's been going on for the last 2.5 years?
Yeah.
Like, why weren't you practicing substitutions in practice? Why not simulate a game-like atmosphere? That was kind of shocking to me. And then the other thing, though, that I was thinking is, like, you were sitting there thinking this, and like nobody ever fixed it in practice. But I guess that's just kind of the thing, you kind of the line you have to toe a little bit. Hey, big man's going to make his calls, and I'm a lieutenant in the Army,
right.
And I'm sure feedback was going and everything, but it was just kind of crazy that it's just like, wow, like, we've been talking about some of these like pre-snap things all year, and like nothing was being done to address it. Like, that's kind of crazy to me. That is a little bit nuts.
The one thing that stuck out when he initially said it in the press conference was, during the summer when we were able to see the entire practice, and they would get into that 2-minute stuff, and Riz would be calling his own play. She'd be like, "Oh, third down, this person is down, switch this and that." I just was like, man, where did that go? Like I said, we only see a small chunk of practice, throughout this season so far. But, to hear that they're doing that they're going fully all out, doing situational stuff.
Well, no, for sure. Like, one of the things I was hearing from players is that there was that intensity in camp, and then you got to the season, and then the intensity kind of left. And it was like, well, you can't play if you don't practice with intensity. So how do you go into a game and bring intensity if there's no intensity in practice? And some of the guys told me that, like, the hardest thing they felt like they did in practice was individual drills, like that, and that, they weren't sweating or
right.
even, really getting to a point. So then you go to a game and you're starting the game, and all of a sudden it's like you're trying to find a gear that you haven't had to touch all week. So, right. I mean, like, where to go? I just don't think they were doing a lot of that stuff during the season.
Mike, you talked about shaking the snow a little bit. They did shake it up in some positions. You got Todd Grantham moved to an advisory position. You can continue to break that down.
Yeah, so Todd Grantham, the defensive line coach, he said is going to help Joe Woods, who's now the play caller in defense. That's really gone under the radar, I think, this week is, and we'll get to this in the Martin's question of the day. DA's been running this defense, calling this defense. Now Joe Woods will do that. That'll be a big change for the defense. He's going to put Todd Grantham, a very experienced college defensive coordinator at the highest levels, the SEC, Louisville, other places, is going to help him in that role, and that puts Brian Young from assistant defensive line coach to defensive line coach, and maybe there's need for shakeup there. God knows that's a position that needed a shakeup. They brought in an extra special teams coordinator, so Rizzi, who was already sort of a game manager, situation manager type. I mean, he's going to be a guy who's just locked in on all that stuff since he's not coaching the offense or the defense and won't be as focused on special teams as he was before. So there'll be a lot of tweaks, a lot of tweaks in that regard as well.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Score big with Saints Score. Win up to $100,000. Enter the second chance drawings for cool Saints prize packages. Play Saints Score scratch-offs from the lottery.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Welcome to the Queen Casino, where entertainment meets unparalleled customer service. From our days on the water to our new land experience overlooking the Mississippi River, our dedicated staff is here to ensure your visit is nothing short of exceptional. Whether you are coming or going, our well-lit parking lot and security team provide guests with red carpet treatment. Our security team keeps watch so you can focus on fun and fortune. From table to table, our attentive staff is here to serve up the ultimate experience. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome into PJ's Coffee here at 2600 Airline Drive in the Mobile Ochsner Health Podcast Studio. It's time for our next segment presented by Urban South. What do we care about the most at Falcons at Saints? It's not the usual, which matchups matter most. It's to the time now where the bodies that are going to be on the field is like, well, I can't put Jesse Bates. Yeah.
I have two.
I want to see how they respond to Rizzi.
Yeah.
Like that. Let's see what the energy is. Let's see how that looks. See how everything kind of comes together there. I mean, that's going to be the most interesting thing to me. I do think, unfortunately, they just don't have enough. I would be really surprised if they found a way to win this game. I don't know how you win a game with Marquez, Valdez, Scantling, and Mason Tipton as your top two receivers. That just doesn't feel like a good setup for success. I don't know how you win a game when cornerback 1, 2, and 4 are out. Like that's a big hit there. So I don't like that setup. I just think they're missing too much right now. But maybe there's that heart, that energy, that passion piece of it, that intangible thing that kind of carries them for a little bit, where they just want to say, hey, you know what? we're gonna prove ourselves right, that it was about the coaches and it wasn't about the players, and maybe they find something there that elevates them. But talent wise, you look at it and it's like, it's hard to make meatballs when you don't have meat or marinara sauce, and it feels like they don't have either one right now.
Oh man.
This is his second spaghetti reference this week. There was one that was off.
Was there another one?
Yesterday, there was one. When
you said put peanut butter and jelly in spaghetti?
Yeah.
I mean, Sue makes some like fire spaghetti and meatballs, man, and she made it this week, so it must have
just be on the mind.
Yeah.
Shout out
Good
to
work,
Sue.
Yeah. Look, me and Kevin did a whole members-only podcast sort of on what we want to see over the last 9 weeks, and so I'm going to steal one of my answers from that. We did 3 each, but one of my answer is every single player that that could potentially be a part of this team's 5-year plan. No team has a 5-year plan. 3-year plan.
Yeah.
Like I wish Kool-Aid McKinstry was on the field, but I want to see Alontae Taylor keep killing it. He talked this week about he's got an opportunity to be an outside corner now. What he's always wanted, what we've always thought he's going to be better at.
Yeah, super.
Pete Werner has already started to make some of those strides. I want to see Talifaga and Trevor Penning look good. I want to see Kool-Aid McKinstry when he gets healthy. I'm trying to think. There's not that many, but anyone that could be a core foundational piece that if you're starting a list of, all right, what assets does this team have? I want to see them kill it in every game from here on out. Anyone who could be a part of this team's future.
Yeah, I mean, Pete Werner's played really good this year. He's really changed his body composition.
Rizzi, I could put on that
body
list.
composition. Yeah, quite a bit. He looks like he looks like he put in some work this offseason. So he's been playing great. But yeah, that Alontae piece of it, that's a huge one. That's a huge one, and it has massive implications, I think, down the line, because him playing good, going back to the earlier question, knocking off one of the 4 premium positions, him being great is kind of paramount to feeling like you don't need to draft another cornerback very early in the draft. But look, if you're there and you can get Travis and you need to, the doors should be open for anything there.
We're looking at a team that just started two guys last week that weren't on the roster 2 weeks earlier. So you can make room for 3. You can make room for 3.
Yeah, Kool-Aid moves to the slot, or Alontae moves back to the slot. Yeah.
I like to see Will Harris coming back. We got a little taste of him earlier this season. Then he hit IR, and now he's coming back. Rizzi had said it. And then also from a ceremonial kind of point of view, I think we'd be remiss to not say that Alvin, he only needs.
Oh, good point.
He only needs 12 to break the record to become the all-time rushing leader. So excited.
If the last 2 weeks are any indication, he'll do it on the first snap of offense. So get in your seats. What do you have, a 20-yard run on the first play and then a 23-yard run on the first play each of the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think he's going to just break it and then extend it by a wide margin and say, hey, catch up.
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect to anybody else that came before him, but it's cool to see that record in the hands of the best running back in franchise history, bar none.
For sure. Now it's time for our next segment presented by the Louisiana Lottery. Who will lead this team in receptions and receiving yards?
Well, it's Alvin, but I realized that when I was looking at their stats. Alvin's going to lead them in reception and receiving yards, but who that's a wide receiver, a tight end? Yeah. Holy cow, is there no good choices on the board. So assuming Chris Olave misses at least 4 weeks, if not the entire season, which I think is very possible, our candidates are Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, Mason Tipton, Cedric Wilson. What, Bub Means?
Cedric Wilson has to play.
They're hurt. Valdez Scantling, Taysom Hill. You had Juwan Johnson on the screen. He's leading all the candidates now with 20 catches for 225. I was surprised Foster Moreau only has 12 catches this year.
Tipton's
somebody has to
14
catch
passes.
the ball, right?
We got this graphic up here, 14 catches, 99. He's caught 4. I didn't know he caught 14 passes. That's more than I would have guessed.
Yeah, we checked it earlier. Him not being able to crack even just 100 receiving yards in the amount of games that he's played is wild.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, man.
No.
Kind of like that.
It should be him. This should be the answer to the question. He hasn't missed a day. He's been here since training camp. He's been here since week 1. He's got opportunity. He's like the veteran of the group now. and he hasn't taken advantage of any opportunities so far. Maybe Derek Carr being back will help. Those two haven't been on the same page yet this year. I mean, the answer is probably Juwan Johnson 1 and Foster Moreau 2. And speaking of people who need to take this opportunity to show what they're made of, this is a contract year for Juwan Johnson. A team with absolutely no proven receivers. Juwan Johnson needs to be their freaking Travis Kelce. Like, he's number one on the who needs to show something over the last 8 weeks of this season. He's very high on that list.
Olave's definitely going on IR tomorrow, right? You don't say like it's on the table if it's not happening tomorrow. Like like that's when they would make that move. They'll play their little, Willie or won't he thing right up.
What do they call
the
it?
end.
Semantics.
And they're gonna need a roster spot, like so he's gonna go on IR. And
you gotta do it for his health. I mean, you gotta do it. You gotta take that decision out of your hands, the doctor's hands, Chris Olave's hands. There is no benefit to being like, well, maybe he'll be feeling good in 3 weeks. Let's talk about it in 5 weeks, if ever.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely like they need to make a transaction tomorrow. Like they need that guys on this roster. They need a lot of receivers. So a few there. There's probably other spots where they need to bring guys up. So I'm expecting that's probably something that's going to come out in the morning or 3 o'clock whenever they announce it. Olave going
3 o'clock when they announce it, or 1 o'clock when you report it.
But yeah, somebody's going on IR, and it's probably him. And yeah, so my pick on this, I mean, I guess I'll go Juwan. I think it's going to be Juwan. I think they lean on, and I think he's been playing better. I think Carr's going to be forced to throw the ball to him a little bit. He's probably your biggest, most reliable target. I feel like it's probably going to be him. But yeah, I mean, Alvin is the actual answer.
Yeah, Alvin is the actual answer. But when I was pulling the numbers for Juwan, I even was looking. I was like, wait. Because this was Rattler feeding him the ball, just spamming it, trying to get him the ball at certain points. So I think if him and Carr could get something going together as one of the only receivers left on the field, I think that'll be a positive development just for their entire team as a whole to try to, continue to fight for Rizzi and see what's happening. Now it's time for the Martin Wine and Spirits questions of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's so much more than just wine. Today's first question is, will anything be worse on the field as a result of Dennis Allen's absence?
I thought it was a great question. I mean, the answer has to be yes, right? I mean, in theory, like he's by far and away the best defensive coordinator that we've covered in the entire Sean Payton era. That's how he got the head coaching job. He's really good at that job. Joe Woods has to be a step down. I don't know. I mean, I think Dennis Allen has underachieved in that area, and frankly, I think that has a lot to do with why he got dismissed. I think if his defense was still killing it, that might have saved him. The defense has regressed this year, late game situations, the missed tackling issues. So I don't necessarily think there's room for a big drop-off on the defense. It could maybe even be better if the energy thing picks up. But, yeah, I mean, whatever else you want to say about Dennis Allen, it would be a big disrespect to say that they're not going to miss his mind and game planning and ability as a defensive coordinator whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, he's good at coaching defense. Like, I could see a change just in the response of energy or whatever in that, but I'm not going to sit here and act like he wasn't a good defensive coach.
Yeah.
So that's just not something. Yeah, I mean,
anything specific that stands out where it could hurt. I mean, I guess that's hard to pinpoint. But
I mean, he's a great designer of defense in general. Like his scheme is really good. Like, and I think Joe Woods will probably lean on that, and I think Joe's probably gonna be more of a gambler. So I mean, I think where some things might change and where you could see an improvement. And look, it's crazy because like Adebo is getting a ton of picks and everything, but like I think there's some elements of the defense that could become more dynamic, just in the sense of saying like, okay, Tyron, go out there and you can do all the Honey Badger stuff, play on your instincts, because like he wasn't allowed to do that in this game. Like you just didn't see him play. When you watch Honey Badger in Arizona and Kansas City and Houston, there's just things that he was doing that made him the Honey Badger that I just don't think were being done. So like the comments when he first stepped up to make, right after DA got fired, it sounded like he was alluding to the idea that he's had conversations with Joe Woods, and Joe Woods is going to allow him to kind of like do some of the stuff. So I think there could be an improvement there, but I mean, DA's one of the best. He's one of the best at what he does. You do have a scheme in place. I don't think that's going to be drastically different. I don't think you can have like a massive scheme change in the middle of the season. But, yeah, I mean, I'm expecting there to be some things that are probably worse for sure. Yeah.
The next question: how many games does Darren Rizzi have to win to be the permanent head coach?
I mean, boy, I'm setting this number really, really high. I mean, let's say he goes 10-7, makes the playoffs, and wins a playoff game, then it's undeniable.
Yeah, you can't.
But
you can't argue that.
I don't think so. They have 8 games left. I don't think 5-3 even gets it done necessarily. I can't rule it out. I mean, he's not just a guy that was never considered for a head coach. He interviewed for this job a couple years ago. He interviewed for the Dolphins job. Mm-hmm. He was a college head coach way back on a smaller school level. He has aspirations to be a head coach, but the odds are just really stacked against him. I mean, the example that comes immediately to mind within the division, Steve Wilkes killed it as the interim coach for Carolina. All the players loved Steve Wilkes, just like they loved Darren Rizzi. It was the tailor-made situation where you think an interim coach is going to go, but get the job. But when you have a head coaching opportunity, and there's only 6 or 7 or 8 of them around the league, you get the chance to hire the best of the best of the best, and sometimes teams don't want to pass that by. So I think the odds are stacked against him for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree with everything you said. Yeah.
That'll do it for this edition of NewOrleans.Football. We appreciate y'all for rocking with us today. Overtime is next. Catch you next time.